Not a Wisconsin. I'm a Wisconsinite, but not a Mujer.
Really?
But I am standing in for Araceli Lopez, and we are hosting the Black Latinx TalkBack. Today's topic is politics. A lot of people always say, like, I don't mess with politics. But tonight you're messing with politics right here, because you're hearing some real people bring in real perspective and having some honest, frank dialogue and conversation. So I am tasked with saying words that are not my own. So I am going to read off the script, which I usually don't do, and give you a little bit of introduction thanks to our lovely host, Araceli. So I'd like to say welcome to our show, where we cover Latinx real life stories, testimonies, healing from generational oppression, and yes, we go there. Not everyone is ready to talk about this, but if you are Latinx, first, second, third generation, or immigrant, and you have a story about your family survival of oppression or abuse, and if you are ready to share, please connect with us. Today's Talkback theme is about Adelante's role in the Madison Latino community, politics, and the intersection of politics, Blackness, Latinidad, and the challenges of being Black and or Latinx candidates in local politics. Today, we will address stereotypes, myths, and the intersectionality of Latinx and Black communities when it comes to running for office, building a campaign, and the unique barriers that Black and Latinx people face when running for office. So let's start with a definition. Let's define what is anti-Blackness. There are many reasons that Black folks and Latinos are inextricably linked. However, we are also complicit in systems of Black oppression. Despite our proximity to Black people and the Afro-Latinos in our family, internalized and interminority racism runs deep in our community. Although we try to represent all voices at each one of our Latinx talkbacks, we have a long way to go to break down hundreds of years of white supremacy. But as Latinos, we refuse to be active in the Black liberation movement, and that is denying ourselves as Latinos an alliance that is not just necessary, but mandatory in the fight for our collective freedom, for immigration reform and community justice, and affirming that Black lives matter. Our promise to you is that we will continue to challenge ourselves to pass the mic and give voice to the anti-Blackness that is ingrained in our community and is often swept under the rug. We've got a long way to go to break down hundreds of years of white supremacy, but as Latinos, to refuse to be active in the Black liberation movement is to deny ourselves as Latinos an alliance that is, I think I repeated a sentence there. So we have been blessed to have several women and men on our Talkback Summer Series. One of them, Natalia Armacanqui, and I hope that I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't, because I always aim to put respect on people's names. Has written a poem that we use for several of our talkbacks to start. So I'm going to go ahead and read that poem. It's called Moment of Silence. I would like to invite everyone to take a moment of silence for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony Robinson, and all the thousands of Black lives that have been robbed by us in the past hundreds of years due to white supremacy, police brutality, and institutionalized racism. Before we begin our silence, I wanted to share with you that I started thinking about why people have been using silence as a means of honoring those above who have passed on. And I realized that there comes a point where and when words become empty, especially in a reality filled with false promises of change. There are no words that the oppressive systems that exist can even say anymore that holds real meaning. There are no words that can describe what George Floyd's and Breonna Taylor's families must be going through right now and will be going through for years to come. There are no words that can bring them back. So because there are no words, and because silence and action are sometimes better than words, let us take a moment of silence, holding the power of their names in our hearts and minds and the brightness of their spirits, which live on, motivating and inspiring us. Okay. So for full transparency, the statements shared aren't personal or against anyone. We value the diversity and the uniqueness of every individual in our community, male, female, non-binary, trans, LGBTQI, Afro-Latino, our elders, our youth. And if you have any suggestions or would like to sponsor our series, please connect with us. All right, so let's get this thing kicked off. I am super excited to have all these people right here with me. These are people that mean a lot to me. Every single one of you mean a lot in my journey. I've known you ranging from, maybe 5 years to almost 20. Really good people with really good hearts and a lot of melanin and a lot of talent and a lot of passion and people who are brave, bold, live out their mission, say things even if it means that they're going to get flack against them for it. And I keep those type of people in my circle. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the topic, and I'm also going to introduce the people in the room. So again, we're talking about politics here. We're talking about the nitty gritty, the systems that we make up a part of as a democracy and that we have the power to shape. Folks on here sit in different capacities, whether they be elected, formally elected, appointed, or the folks that are doing really the legwork to get other people into office. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I will go ahead and get started with somebody who's a huge role model to me, who's been a big part of my journey so far. Miss Frances Huntley-Cooper. If you can go ahead and introduce yourself, just tell folks a little bit about you, who you are, and what brings you here.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Well, first of all, I have to congratulate Joe for being my alder person. So he's now my role model. And then John on there, I got a chance to meet him because of Joe. So both of them helped with getting Joe elected as my older person. So I'm proud to at least support someone who came after me, who I can be proud of. So thank you, Joe, for all your service. And John for helping Joe get elected, because you did a lot of work. Then I got a chance to meet both of these young men because they were able to participate in one of my organizations, Men Who Cook. And these guys can cook, y'all. They can cook.
We got trophies to prove it.
Yes. Alpha Kappa Alpha has held Men Who Cook for years in Dane County, and both of them have participated and both of them have won. So thank you guys for supporting the community and giving back. And for those who don't know me, I'm like Joe. Joe represents me in city of Fitchburg, District 1, where I was alderperson years ago. And in that same seat, I was able to move up and run for mayor and won that, becoming Wisconsin's first and only African-American mayor elected in the state. And to this date, I was 91 to 93. And still, we have not elected another African-American mayor. And that's not good news, you all. That is not good news. So when people come to me, Gloria, Adelante group came and asked me to help participate on their board. I'm more than willing to help people of color get elected. So you got to give back. And then I also serve, one more thing. I do serve on the Madison College board. I'm the chair of the board for Madison College. And that's been an honor to work with our president and the board and the faculty and staff there at Madison College. I do a lot of other things. I'm not going to take up all the time, but I just wanted to give those two a shout out.
So we got Black history in the flesh on our chat right now.
Is that all you do for the party? I remember there's like one other thing that's pretty important there.
Okay, so and what I'm doing right now, well, I got two things I'm doing right now. I'm right in the midst of this.
Okay.
And I'll leave that out if I can just add. So one is I'm a Democrat and I'm serving as a delegate for Beny to the National Democratic Convention. So this is my 5th time serving in that capacity. So I'm very excited about that, even though we're virtual, but we're safe. And then the other thing we're doing right now that I'm real busy with, and Joe was able to see that I'm working with the NAACP AXO program. It stands for Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. And we have students from Madison school districts and surrounding school districts participating. You will see them next week. It's gonna be live on a platform I've never heard of before, but there are links out. I think I sent it out to as many people as I could. Click on that, come join us. And Joe had a chance to see 2 of our students, or 3, being recorded recently in Fitchburg. So thank you. Those are a few of the things. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you for your service.
Okay. Thank you. Love you.
Yes, and on the piece about Madison College, that's an incredible resource. Our community colleges, especially here in town. So thank you for all that you do. Let's go ahead and go to somebody who I've known maybe about 10 years. She started out as a mentor in the Avid Tops program. That's where I met her. She was mentoring one of my high school students, and I've just seen her rise to the top as quick as rain, and I've been inspired by your journey, and you've emboldened me to be able to take that chance, shoot my shot, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce former Deputy Mayor Miss Gloria Reyes.
Thank you, Joe. And Francis, oh my goodness, I can't beat you. I just from afar, I've so admired all the work that you've done for our community, and being a mayor of Fitchburg, I mean, that's just phenomenal. So thank you for setting the path for many of us, and recently becoming Adelante board member. And so I am currently the president of the Madison School Board. I ran for election 2.5 years ago. That's what sparked my interest in starting Adelante. Was really to focus on supporting our mayor of Fitchburg. I mean, that's just phenomenal. So thank you for. No, I wonder.
Yeah, if anybody's got their live stream on in their Facebook, make sure to put it on silent.
Okay.
I might have mine.
So, but prior to running for office, I spent 13 years working for the Madison Police Department and working in a variety of capacities. Then went and worked for Mayor Paul Soglin as his deputy mayor to public safety. I also had oversight of Department of Civil Rights, the Madison Police Department, Fire Department, Public Health, and Community Development Division. And so, and then decided to run for office because I felt that we needed a voice. And angry over and over again with decisions made by the Board of Education that impacted our students of color and no representation. Or, I mean, we always had either one Latino or one African American on the school board, but we really needed to change the just having more people of color at the table, right? To get anything passed and anything done, we really needed to infuse ourselves within that system. And so that's why I ran, and we started Adelante, and I'm looking forward to talking more about our work. I also want to give a shout out to Juan Lopez, who really set the path also for me in running for the Madison School Board, who has advocated for me throughout my life as a young girl growing up here in Madison, who really knew my parents and has supported me throughout my career. So give a shout out to Juan Lopez, who really set the path for us as well.
Yeah, so if you live in Madison and you don't know who Juan Jose Lopez is, you're living under a rock. But for anybody watching that doesn't, Just picture that OG Theo who like always calls you. He's always like, yo, let me talk to you for like 2 minutes. And then it ends up being like an hour-long conversation.
Right.
That's Juan. And yeah, he's always telling you how proud he is of you, but he's also telling you get it right. So shout out to Juan Jose Lopez. And he always comments on everybody's Facebook page showing them love. So much love to Juan.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and go up to a friend of mine, somebody I've known since college. He shares this Milwaukee-ness that is central to the core of my being. He's a Boricua. He's got the smoothest hat game in the world. He's just a dope individual overall. He's not in an elected capacity, but he's in an appointed capacity. He's an economic maven. Is really in on topics related to money, and he's just somebody that brings passion to everybody he does. So let me go ahead and introduce Mr. Beny Perez-Reyes.
It's a heck of an intro. Appreciate you, Joe. So yeah, just a little bit about myself. As Joe mentioned, native Milwaukeean, born here, but with Puerto Rican parts. As Joe mentioned, had gone to Madison, UW Madison for undergrad. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I started my whole passion for, I guess, what we call DEI nowadays, right? So working with the Multicultural Student Center on campus, and then also becoming part of a fraternal organization, and then bringing that into my work in financing. So started in banking, worked for a couple nonprofits, central to helping startups who were generally marginalized by the traditional banking system, and trying to help them get seed money, right? So get financing to start their businesses or expand their businesses. That turned into me opening my own finance firm where I do much of the same work, just on a bigger scale, for businesses back in 2008. And then as I have molded and I sit on a few boards here that are central to my passion for helping families, people connect with entrepreneurial resources. And so I believe in small business. I'm a huge small business advocate as an owner for myself, and then for those others. I really think that's the fuel that makes this great country go, and we need more of it. So I will always champion for that cause.
All right. And Beny's done a lot. He's got a lot under his belt, and he stays tuned in and stays plugged in, even though he's not in office. And Beny, you have an appointment, right, at the state level?
So not at the state level. Well, I work with a couple of different nonprofits here locally. So I work with one, Alas, which does work for families, traditionally Latinx families who need services for children with special needs. I have a son who has autism, so that's a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And then I also work with Prospanica that helps get connectivity on the corporate level, as well as the UW Latinx affinity group. So I have a couple of different other appointments as well sprinkled in here, but nothing at the political level.
Dope. Okay. All right. So last but not least, this is my dude right here. I met this man on a really long bike ride, a Boys and Girls Club, when he was still in high school. And then I don't think I saw him for a good 5-6 years. And then we were doing some fundraising work for Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. And he just popped up in a meeting. I'm like, I know that guy. Little did I know he would become integral to my life, both personally and professionally. We got kids about the same age. He's also was my campaign manager when I was running for office, and just killed it on the first shot. He's got a W. He's 1-0 right now. And just I would say this man loves his culture more than anybody I've seen, and reps to the fullest all day, every day. My friend, my pana, Mr. Johnathan William Osorio Delgado.
Chacho, I get the whole name too. Oh, thank you for moderating this. And I think that was a 30-mile bike ride, by the way. And let me tell you, I was like a chubby junior in high school. I literally did 30 miles and never bike ride a day in my life like that. Okay, so it took me probably just a good 4 hours for that. So the circumstances, it's been a while. So but Joe's been a mentor to me over the last 3 years and things like that. We've working on projects together. I did the Puerto Rican Awareness Project to bring awareness to the Puerto Rican diaspora, and that was specific to people here in Wisconsin, because we're out here, and I think that we don't see our people, our culture here enough. So I've been taking some initiatives and being an advocate for Puerto Rican people in Wisconsin, rural areas out here. And then as far as I am a board member on the Community Impact Board with the United Way. We kind of sit as a representative to the representative of the company at United Way, just to make sure that when they do new things, that people with lived experiences are sharing their voice in the things that they're doing. And most recently, I took a huge step in politics this last year. And that was just a decision, just pure curiosity. I'm if this and can this be done from a civilian standpoint, high school education, can you participate? And I think with the help of Joe and meeting a bunch of people here in the Madison area, it's possible. It's possible for anyone on any level to take part in voting. And, and I will go back to Araceli. She I've had conversations. I met her and her sisters many moons ago. But, I wanted to talk about this because in the Latino community, Black community, voting is somewhat taboo because we don't participate, Part of that was we want to talk about the why. Why is that? And, so thank you all for being here. It's very important that we start talking about these topics and how everyone can take part, and voting, in all the ways it's important. And, so thank you.
All right. And that's a good transition. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the why. So why did you go into politics? Let's go ahead and start with Gloria. What was that spark that said okay, I need to go ahead and do something about it?
Yeah, so I always knew education was important, right? I mean, it was something my parents had ingrained in me, right? To really move us out of poverty. Education was going to be our way out. And but it wasn't until I got to the mayor's office where I really got a broader understanding of how important public education is to really the success of a city and a community, and needing that strong public education. And so I served on the education committee for the city, and it was all great people, all elected officials served on that. And I felt that there was a voice missing, and a voice missing from the school board. And although we had James Howard, which I love, he was an awesome president for the Madison School District, Mike Flores and Juan Lopez, it was very just like one of us. And I just wanted to tackle that. I felt like education was really the foundation of our city. It is our way out of poverty. And that was a place for me to commit my time. And so it was just so happen chance. A couple days later, after some frustration about my thinking around the school board and the school district and the education committee and the politics around it all, I walked into Centro Hispano for a meeting, and South Carranza was there and other members of our Latino community, and they were all saying, "Hey, there's going to be an open seat coming up on the school board. We need somebody to run." And so that's what really sort of got me thinking that, yeah, okay, this is it. And it was really the community focusing, right, and being really strategic about, okay, who are we going to put front and center, and who are we going to support? And that ended up being me. So I stepped in the race because of that missing voice, and I felt that I could bring that. And little did I know I was entering a whole new world of politics that I was not aware of.
Yes.
And it was, I was my entire race, I was the outsider. I was the candidate, that didn't have experience. I was, it was really disturbing, the world of politics and running a campaign. And many of my people, right, I looked at around my kitchen cabinet. Somebody said, okay, you need to bring people to, develop your kitchen cabinet. And they were all, Latinos. I think I had one white guy, and that was Don Gramling, who was my treasurer. And I looked, and it was just a lot of people of color who really were well-meaning, who supported me, but we all didn't have the capacity of knowing how to run a campaign and fundraise, right? What all the paperwork we need to file. I mean, just all those logistics. It was really challenging. And so, but that is why I ran. And little did I know that it was going to open up so many other opportunities, like Adelante. Yeah.
So let's talk about that piece. You were considered the outsider. So what does it mean to? What do you think you had to deal with that maybe a white candidate wouldn't have had to, even if you weren't new?
Yeah, it was really crazy because I had a lot of experience. I was in law enforcement. I knew how to, and deputy mayor for a city, and I still was not qualified in the eyes of the majority of people in the city at first, right? It was really hard. And I think that as people of color in general, we got to be on 110, in anything that we do. And so we all realized that early on, right? We got to be there early. We got to, we got to do a lot better. We got to be well prepared just to even measure up to our counterparts. And I realized that coming in, despite all my qualifications, that I still struggled. And I do believe that as soon as a person of color runs in and jumps in a race, we are automatically the outsider because we're not in those crowds. Our names are not there. We don't understand. We're not exposed to those situations. And it is because of who we are. That's all I can think of, right? It was so blatant that was the reason why. Now that changed, right? Because I did get elected. I think that during my campaign, there were two white guys who came forward, and that was Scott McDonald and Mike Bassford. And closer to the election, they realized what was happening here, that I was the most experienced and the most qualified person to serve on the board. And they jumped in and they're like, we know exactly what's going on here, Gloria. We want to help you. And they really carried me and helped me through the finish line, along with my kitchen cabinet of folks. And so, but yeah, two white guys recognized what was happening. Yeah.
Gloria, what? I'm going to ask you two questions. I want you to answer them real quick. What is the craziest thing you heard on the campaign trail thing that made you go, what the heck? And then number two, what was the biggest pleasant surprise you got on the campaign trail?
I think for me, I mean, it was the one that stuck out the most is that I was not a legitimate candidate. I was told that to my face, that you are not a legitimate candidate. And I just was like, wow. After spending that time with that individual and talking about my experience, why I'm running, at the end of the whole conversation, it was like, you're not a legitimate candidate. You're not going to win this.
That reminds me of that high school counselor that tells you should do trade school instead of college.
Yeah, I'm not a legitimate candidate. So that was really surprising.
Wow.
Yes, I had a high school counselor tell me that I should be a legal secretary because I was interested in law, right?
Yeah.
I've had those experiences, but actually, hear that in my adult years in Madison in 2018,
Did that person talk to you when you won?
No. I think, and what was crazy, I think that was the one that just really, that was the hardest one to take in. And then the other question was what?
Pleasant surprise, a time during your campaign where you're like, wow, that somebody came through for me or something really
I'm telling you,
happened.
When Mike Bassford and Scott McDonald came through for me, that was amazing. But it was the community, right, that really stepped up. It was surprising to me that I got so many people who donated for my campaign, right, who invested the hard-working dollars to invest in my campaign. I was surprised by how people, would give their hard-working money to put into a campaign, into somebody, into me, was really, really surprising. And not only in our Black and Latino community, but our entire community, where, it really opened doors. And I think people really stepped outside their own thinking about what a political candidate looks like. And really thought about it and figured, putting that aside, I mean, she is the most qualified candidate, and I'm going to support her. And a lot of people came forward in Madison. The school board race is a citywide race, so it's not like one district. It's a citywide. It's a larger race than the mayor's race. So you have to really capture, the whole
100,000s of votes. Yeah.
And Fitchburg, right? Parts of Fitchburg. And so,
All right, so let's and you open the floodgates to the rest of us after you we just kicked the door down and started moving. So thank you. Let's take it back to 91. Mayor Francis, can you tell us about your journey in the small little town of Fitchburg? Back when things probably looked a lot different than they do now. Can you talk us through your journey?
Sure, and it's real interesting to hear Gloria's story. Mine was somewhat similar, a little different. And I got involved in politics, first of all, as Alder person. I ran as a write-in candidate.
Wow.
I had no interest in politics. My background is social work. And, people, they came after my husband because he was a union leader, and they thought he'd be a good candidate. He thought it would be a conflict. What about my wife? She's working her master's in public policy and administration. I'm busy as it is. But anyway, that's how I got in. And the mayor at the time, and it was already past time to file nomination papers. So that's one reason why I ran as a write-in candidate. I was elected. And we had a joke around my house. If no one else ran, it would just be myself and my husband. We get 2 votes, I'd be in. That was our joke. Probably got about 50 some votes, but I got in. And then that was the first time as Alder person. I did not know, I just need to say this, I didn't know where City Hall was at the time. I wasn't following Pittsburgh politics, so I was totally naive, with all the politics that were going on. And then second time I ran, I had like, oh, I always had a primary after that. I ran the second time. It was like four additional people running. So I eventually prevailed. There was another woman that lived on the same street with me. Joe has campaigned in my area, so he knows what I mean. And Joe Bernhardt came in first, and I came in second. So the women kicked butt. And then I said, enough of this. You know, I'm not going to run again. The mayor at that time was Tom Katz. And he put my name out there, tried to get me to run. And, you know, I said, no, I'm not interested. And then he was on a radio talk show. And somebody must ask him who he'd like to see as the next mayor. My name came out. I go to work, and that's what people are telling me. I hear you're running for mayor. No, I'm not. And that's where it came from. But I have to give him credit because he, along with Jeannie, were both supporters of me the whole time. So they knew the politics of Fitchburg. I put together a team, and unlike Gloria, my team didn't look like me, but they were good people. They were knowledgeable on various issues. Sat in my living room. We went over things and worked hard. I ran. I came in second in the primary. Again, I had all these guys running against me because they were determined if they run, I definitely would not get in. So I came in second in the primary and then came in first where it counted. And that was, that's my story of how I got into being the mayor. But I had a lot of support from the people in the community. Fundraising was not too hard for me because I had been involved in a lot of things as an alder person and a lot of national organizations. So a lot of people would always say, first of all, where are you from when I go to national conferences? And they would just write checks without me even asking. They would send checks from their organizations. And that was because I had been actively involved in these organizations across the country. So that helped with the campaigning and the funds coming in. But I didn't have the big, I probably didn't raise as much as you, Joe, you know, doing for even mayor, you know, at the time. So things have changed.
So what did, so I think a lot of people don't know this about Fitchburg, but it's actually more, right now it's more racially diverse than Madison. 1 out of 3 Fitchburg residents is a person of color. Did it look like that when you ran? And if not, like, what did a Black woman running for mayor of, you know, a predominantly white suburb of Madison, what did that feel like?
Right. It was well, because I was female, it was probably easier for me to run than if it was a Black male. I'll say that. And I only say that because my husband went out knocking on doors campaigning for me, and his reception was quite different than when I walked the neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah.
Closed my door and, you know, so the population of Fitchburg was very small then. Many of the longtime folks that you know, Joe, that still live in Fitchburg, they were there when I came through. But Fitchburg has grown so much. I wish we had that population back there, but we didn't. So oftentimes, Fitchburg has always been a city that has money. We didn't have the problems of homelessness or any of the issues that maybe the city of Madison was tackling with. So, and I was the only person as alderperson or mayor of color on the city council. And then, of course, pretty much all the staff there were also not representative of people of color. So I think what helped me get through all of that was, first of all, the support of the good people of Fitchburg. And I could do that because my background is in social work. And I always felt that if I could work with children and families and have a decent, respectful relationship with them, then you just transfer those skills over when I ran for alderperson and mayor. And that's what I did, you know. So I think that made a difference.
So what does it look like running versus governing? Tell me about that experience. What did it feel like once you got in that seat?
Okay, so Excuse me. Back in the day, we didn't have as many committees and all that they have right now. But I was a little reluctant to want to be involved in everything when I first came on. However, I was strategic about the committees I served on, and I preferred to chair a committee than serve on two committees because that's how it was set up at the time. You chair the committee, you were on one of the four committees, and if not, you were on two. And I'm like, I don't have time to be going to meetings all the time. So I knew that I had the Tuesday night city council meeting, and if I chaired a committee, I would be chair of that. So I did that, and that worked well for me. And then as I decided, I chaired personnel committee, I chaired the finance committee, I was on the plan commission. So I was in very, really great committees that helped me when I got ready to run for mayor. I had some background and experience that I could transfer those into a higher position. So, okay. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm in the mix of those masses and masses of meetings. I was in one right before I came on this broadcast. Yeah. And Gloria, I'm sure you're experiencing all of that too. All right. So let me ask a question to Beny in particular. Why? So you're in the mix, like you know what's going on. You always call me anytime there's like, hey, something happened in Milwaukee or Madison or whatever. What's up? As a business owner, why are you personally invested in knowing about your local politics?
Yeah, I think local, right, being informed on local politics has a ripple effect on everything, right? I think it's just a due diligence that I feel is my civic duty to be informed on what people are saying, right, where people want to take the city, where people want to take the state. And as a business owner, right, that affects the economy in a tremendous way. And so how do we ripple effect? How do people who want to open up business, who want to grow their business, how do they do that in an infrastructure that's conducive to do so? We know that there are bottlenecks in systems. And so how are we identifying those bottlenecks to be able to motivate and to encourage people to open up their own businesses because of what that contributes to the local economy? Right, we can look at national politics, but I'm a firm believer that local politics are really the bread and butter of what we do, and they affect the national conversation in a much grander scale.
So give me an example of how, like, how that plays out. What does it look like for just the average person in the hood to like wanna? What's a tangible way in which something that's happening can affect their lives and they not even know?
Yeah, I think just a realistic matter. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How that has functioned for people who currently own their business. If it's a retail establishment in the middle of a city, how they gain access to deal with that shortfall, right? The PPP program that was out there, right? How SBA rolled out their dollars. Sometimes navigating those infrastructures are incredibly difficult for people who haven't had to traverse a financing situation. And so financing is a completely different model that predominantly Black and brown folks don't leverage well for a lot of reasons. And so that's a topic of conversation. I'd be remiss to say that even the rollout of what went out during this pandemic wasn't enough to satiate the need that exists. And there's a reason for that. And so now we're going to see, if we haven't already seen, what that does to the local economy and what it does to the national economy as a whole.
So what does that mean when how can somebody who is a little bit more knowledgeable, has the inside scoop, who cares, jump in and intercede, right? Like you seem like that system real well. A business owner, that business owner is not as well plugged in. What do you do?
Yeah, I think there are a couple different resources here at the state level, different chambers of commerce, different revolving loan funds that are equipped with the infrastructure to go ahead and help those mom and pop shops with the financing or some grants at those levels. I think we need to stay in a conversation where we're always having that social capital, right? And that social capital is what makes and breaks a lot of these small business owners, right? If they stay unto themselves, well, then they're never growing and expanding in the conversation that they're having. So I think that's primarily what I see in my daily work is, hey, what are you doing to X? I want to do this, and I say, okay, well, have you done point A? And that's where to orient somebody and say, hey, I know you want to go 100 miles an hour, but we're gonna have to back it up about 50 miles an hour and get you right before you can go ahead and run. And a lot of times that happens with a lot of our communities of color is that people see others doing well for themselves and leveraging other resources, but they don't know what it takes to get there. And so we have to have that more global conversation to be able to get there. And so that's where I always have that conversation. Hey, I'm willing to help you, but let's take a step back. I know that that's not what you want to hear right now, but it's the best thing that I can do for you.
Okay, so that's an individual piece, but I also want to hear, what does it look like from a systems piece? Because you mentioned that sometimes these systems aren't working as well for us, and there's some disconnect that's not getting the word to the people. How can folks step in without having to run for office necessarily and say like, hey, this ain't right, like let me do something about this?
Correct. So I think just looking at the way that your state or your city, right? So your Alder person sits on a maybe some subcommittees where they have city block grants, right? And they're funding these nonprofits to say they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so if those dollars are going to be invested in helping entrepreneurs, right, we want to make sure that those dollars are actually going to work for the small business owners, right? That's really nascent, grassroots type of funding that some organizations do, right, at the Madison or even at the Milwaukee level, right? Your state representatives, your Congress people, they're dealing with the larger scale, how the SBA trickles down those dollars and how states also receive those dollars, right? And so if we're saying we're having some type of economic growth, we need to fuel that economic growth or that economic interest in starting small business. So writing letters as a small business owner, those are real ways. And then also, right, like looking at those nonprofits of how they're advocating for your interest as well. And I think that's an important conversation, right? We need to make sure that voice is collectively heard at not only at the state level and the local level, but also at the national level, so that we can get those funds. One of the things that I'm passionate about, right, is helping those smaller communities that don't have necessarily access. Those DACA recipients who don't have the traditional access to capital because they're not considered documented. And so how does that work? But they still own businesses, right? And so how do we leverage the resources that we do both on the private and the public side to get people the capital that they need to go ahead and foster their dreams and be able to hire folks and grow and run thriving businesses wherever they may be.
Dope. So networking is a big piece of it. I can't tell you how important it is, and I'm telling everybody out there, if you go online and just look up who represents me, you should know who your Alder is. You should know who your mayor is. You should know who your state representative is. You should know who your state senator is. You should know who your congressperson is. You should know who your U.S. senator is. And of course, your governor, you probably know that. But who's on your school board? Those are the people that are obligated. They're put in office to serve you. Mm-hmm. So you should feel comfortable calling their office, and they will likely call you back. I've called Congress people. Like I've called Mark Pocan's office, and he's maybe not to be the one that gets back to me, but his office assistant will get back to me, and he'll tell me, hey, this is what we're doing right now. So, those are the people that are paid to go to bat for you. They're elected to go to bat for you. So tap into them. And Araceli, if you could put in the chat like how you can find your representative, just so folks can know that, I think it'll be real helpful for the folks watching.
I just want to piggyback off of that. I think another really cool resource is if you just check out the clerk of court's office. They have literally everything you could want as far as like what you need to run. What is it? Like basic operations of a campaign, things like that. There are tons of other ways to get involved in terms of participating in politics, whether you're in a small business or an individual. There's poll workers. You can door knock for a candidate phone communications. There's like a plethora of modes that people can get into to make those contacts, make those connections. And then once in those, you start realizing that there's a business facet to politics. There's a health facet to politics. There's all these like facets to politics that address when you start involving yourself in the community. It's just crazy because like similarities that I'm seeing between all three of you running your campaign, Joe, Francis, and Gloria. The similarities all here is that we didn't have people that, one, look like us, two, where was the education within our communities to learn about these processes, right? We don't have that. But if you go to private schools, civics is in their curriculum, government's in their curriculum. We don't have that. They're specifically not teaching us these as a strategic way of voter suppression, right? Not teach us or just engagement, civic engagement. If you go to Illinois, I grant you, Illinois has, their slew of issues within their education systems, but at least there it is a requirement to teach your students how politics work, how economics work, how these things work, so that if you're interested in it, that's something you can do, and that's where I feel like, being a part of like the Illinois school system, Chicago school system, and then back to the Illinois school system, that's really the only thing about Illinois that I really like, because I will say like Wisconsin has like a higher bar in terms of education and how they run things, but as far as like the things that like put people in positions of power, we're kept out of that like pretty highly. You know what I mean? It's really strategic, so I just kind of wanted to point that out, that this is a form of suppression and oppression. It's systemic, so we just got to start creating policies around that.
Yeah, so we need to, if our school systems aren't going to teach us about how our government works, we need to teach each other. So
100%.
Thank you for putting that in there. John, let's keep it going with you. So I asked you out the blue to be my campaign manager. Why'd you say yes? And what'd you learn in the process? You must have been crazy.
No, honestly, because I thought Ananda was going to be your campaign manager, to be honest. So, and I told her, I'm like, hey, if you need any like help with this, just let me know. I'm interested. Like, my first, for myself, I'll just kind of give a little background. I was in the pilot program of the AVID program, the AVID TOPS program. So I was in their pilot program. First year they opened in Madison at East High School. And I was, my sophomore year of high school, I was approached by a beautiful human being by the name of Beny. She was a grade level principal at East High School. And Latinos and the Black kids, like we were her soul. You know what I mean? She took care of us. She looked out for us. And she's like, you have something about you. You should run for this position. And I ran for student liaison to the school board. And with that, that kind of kicked it off. That was like where I was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then like, will I have time? And It was like one of those things because it's on top of your schoolwork, but it was like a credit toward college, and it was a pretty cool experience. So I was the first person from East High School to ever do it. That's why I wanted to do it, right? First person to do it from East High School to ever do it, and then I was the first Latino to ever run for it in the school board in general. And there was another first, something about just like the demographic of East and how it's like one of the larger school districts, and we're participating. So it was really cool. I didn't win. I came in second place. West, the lady at West, she won. But it was cool to be a part of that. And so when I approached Ananda, it was kind of with that at heart. I had this like a little bit of experience, like networking, and I wanted to help you out, and I didn't know if, should I even ask you? I'm gonna ask the person who I thought was your campaign manager, and so when you turned around, and you asked me, I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. I'd totally be interested in trying that out and seeing what that means. And and it was really cool because we hit the floor running, learning, reading, figuring out what does it mean, how to survey, canvas, and it got it's a lot. And I think that if you didn't have a pure interest in this, people wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, and then not only that, we, in America, we have this kill them with paper culture. You know what I mean? How do you get brown people? You kill them with kill them with paperwork, and that's another thing that they've done to us to seclude us from this. Because one, you have to learn how to read. You have to be able to write, convey a message. That is already an issue within our communities. How can we expect anyone to fill out a ballot form or these long, long contracts, or not contracts, but these long applications, and just the rules and all that, so it's a lot. And I think that part of what my journey was, I'm hoping to empower Black and brown people to vote, participate in some way, shape, or form. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like, why I vote and why it's important to me is, I got people who live on an island who aren't represented at all, who are just completely, disenfranchised in every level of what government should support. Right. So that's why I vote, and I want other people to vote because, if they got a situation or anything in their community that's pressing, this is how you participate. And that's what I want to help people understand.
Dang right. And if you haven't knocked doors in the middle of February,
January and December,
when people with a bunch of people that are real skeptical of you because you got a little bit of a tan, it's an experience
right.
that I will never forget in my life. So I'm gonna take a real quick question from the comment section, and then we'll hop back into it. Shout out to Sylvia Gomez, a really dope staff member at East High School who loves the kids and will do anything for them. Asking, what does an Alder person do? So I'm gonna go ahead and field that one. An Alder person it's different by city or municipality, but when you have a city council, it's made up of people that represent different parts of that city. So you are an Alder, you are a representative of your district usually, and your district or your ward, and you are the person that represents that in the body. So that body is going to make decisions about all the things that the city does, from the buses to the garbage pickup to the facilities, to the police, to the fire, to the budget, and everything in between. So that same system is usually how it works on a state level or on a federal level or on a county level, right? So you have county boards. There are county supervisors that serve on those county boards. There's a county executive that sort of runs the show. In the state level, in Wisconsin, you've got state senators that represent different parts of the state, and then state assembly members that represent that part of the state. They make decisions that go up to the governor. And then at the federal level, you've got the House of Representatives. Congressmen represent a different part of each state. and then the senators represent the state as a whole. So there's a lot more detail I can go into it, but just know that at the city, county, state, and federal level, you've got people that are, again, paid and elected to represent you. And if you don't like what they have to say, tell them. And if they keep disappointing you over and over and over and over again, then maybe it's time to find somebody else to run against them. Or maybe that could be you. So know your people, know who represents you, know what they stand for. And hell, you know, when things are a little bit better, go have coffee with them and grill them. Send them an email, give them a call. They are supposed to listen to you. Gloria, you know, John was talking about how they don't teach us this stuff in school. You mentioned this awesome little organization called Adelante. Tell us about Adelante. What's up? What is Adelante? I think that means forward in Spanish, right?
Yes,
that's the motto of our state, right?
It's Adelante, Madison. And
okay, tell us. Lay it on us.
We actually, after my campaign ended and I won, I brought the team together and we just debriefed on what went wrong, what could we have improved, you know, what worked, what didn't, and then conversation on my kitchen cabinet, we all decided that we need to come up with an organization to help support candidates of color to run for office, because the loneliness and the inability and not having the capacity and the support, you know, I felt it, and it was definitely a need. And so my kitchen cabinet essentially came together and developed Adelante Madison, and that was to support, train, really building the capacity amongst our Black and Brown communities to help support candidates or they themselves run for office. But really, it is like, you know, people like John, you know, and others to like, you know, learn how to run a campaign to support another candidate of color to run for office. And so we hold these trainings. And for first time, you know, people running for office, what to look for and how to prepare yourself and what you're going to need throughout the whole process. And then we endorse. We just moved into endorsements, and you know, we're fundraising to support candidates in their fundraising efforts. And so it's actually gotten huge momentum, more than what I thought, right? I mean, just being in that room filled with people of potential candidates of color and also, you know, people who want to support is amazing to be in that space. And John, you guys have been there, right? It is an amazing feeling to be surrounded by people who want to learn and support. And then we also do canvassing for candidates. We mobilize and support and get people together and knock on doors, make phone calls. And that is what the type of organization Adelante is. And so we want to grow, continue to grow. And this is not just a Latino effort. It is really, we supported many Black candidates, you know, throughout the process. And although, you know, our board really consisted of majority Latino, because that's who was on my kitchen cabinet, but we brought in Francis Huntley-Cooper to be part of our board, who has experience running for office and who can support our candidates moving forward. And it has been an amazing process.
Gloria, go ahead and brag. Like, who are some people you've gotten elected? Like just rattle off some names.
Ananda, Ali, Joe. You know, Ananda and Ali for Madison School Board. Joe, you for Fitchburg, and you know, Christian for City Council. I mean, we have a whole list of people who have just stepped in, and just to see that, even now, we actually thought that we would just focus on local races, but now we got people running for state senator. state assembly, right? People of color who are currently running their races, who we're supporting, who have gone through our training. And it's amazing the momentum we're getting. And that's it. That is all our community needed, right? It is a support mechanism that give them the tools and we will get there. And that is what Adelante does. And we look to film, Milwaukee and other jurisdictions to help support other candidates to run for office. So in other states.
Dope. And I mean, I'll just say as a testimony, like I had no idea what I was doing when I got into this. I literally went to a meeting in January and learned everything I needed to know, like front to back. Like they gave us the blueprint, like you do this, and you'll get elected. I followed the directions. I reached out to the people they told me to reach out to. Easy bake oven to quote my man Martin.
I don't know that it was that easy. I don't mean to put you on that. I just want to let you know that it is. You guys like Adelante did a great job like breaking it down, and just like creating a space for Black and brown people to learn about it. You know what I mean? If this is really something they're interested in doing, because I will say that there's some stuff that you're just like, I don't know, they didn't touch on that, or and then just like laws and things like that you have to follow, and it's interesting, and then you're being advised by other people to do things in a way that maybe you don't align with. I don't think they don't talk enough about that, how you could mess up a connection by supporting people, and there's these little nuances I think that are important to touch on, but I mean, definitely if you're Black or brown and thinking about it, Adelante is the way, to like just get your feet wet, get an idea of what it looks like and what you would need to do for sure.
That's right.
And we do have an annual fundraising event, reception, where our very first one we had was Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes came and spoke, and we had a huge turnout. And that room was just filled with Black and brown political leaders, people who wanted to run for office. And it was an amazing experience and just a sight to see and be a part of.
Mandela, balls guys rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've got another question that we're going to take from the comment section from Lucero. How can people help when they are not able to vote because of their immigration status?
Can I just say that this is actually one of the topics I wanted to talk about. Right. Just because I know that when you're undocumented, you can't necessarily run for office, and there's some hurdles. One thing you can do is spread the word to vote to those around you who can vote. If they can vote, if you got a daughter, an aunt, uncle, you want to tell them, hey, go vote.
Yeah, and I also think, I think with Adelante, I think, helping us building the capacity, right? I think being able to learn how to run a campaign, you can do. Being able to go knock on doors, make phone calls, you can do. And so I think that there are so many ways in which you can get involved in a campaign and support a candidate.
Totally. Volunteer work, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I just want to add something too. They can also assist the candidate. I know when I ran, I needed help with someone watching my kids because my husband was running for something else and he was gone. Someone who came to the house, or I could just drop my kids off with, that I could trust, made me feel comfortable that day while I'm out campaigning. So, it's just the little things that people can do, because a lot of them don't have money, but they want to support you. So they can use their service and say, how can I really help? I can't vote, but what else can I do? And a candidate will tell you where they could use some help that most people won't even think about, So there are other little things that they could do. It's important to the candidate. Yeah. It might seem little, but it's important to the candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to anybody who's watched my kids. Like, you are the MVP. For real. My kids are crazy. All right, so let's let's I'm going to throw out a couple things you can do, just from a voting perspective. So if anybody's watching this, they can get like some specifics, right? So we talked about watching your kids. We talked about going door to door. Can't really do that during COVID, but you can make phone calls. You can tell your family members. You can help translate a document into Spanish. I had somebody translate my campaign materials into Spanish to be able to be sent out to Latino voters, or Hmong voters, or any language that's represented in in the place that your candidate is running. You can help out at fundraisers. You can host a talkback session on live. There is tons of things that you can do to be able to get involved. I'm going to take another question from the comments. This is a juicy one. So I'm going to start out with the question by saying all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right? So sometimes when we go through the political process, we can see, folks that may look like us or share an identity with us that may not have the best interests of our community in mind. Think Taylor Clark, right? So there's there's folks that may look like us, but they not represent us. The question that's on the board: how do you suggest cities such as Milwaukee, that are heavily and historically segregated, approach political candidates? How can we teach constituents to consciously educate themselves on not voting solely on race and ethnicity?
I think something that Adelante does is, we ask specifically before we endorse what candidates have done to support our kids of color, right? They need to demonstrate success and an effort and engagement. And, that's just something, because we know that's the reality, right? That we do have that happening.
Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting because, like, when you have a candidate that looks like you, that doesn't like necessarily stand for the same things you do, that's kind of like an interesting thing, because we have like, right, what cancel culture is real, right? So like this person is subject to scrutiny and on all types of levels, past, future, current, right? So I think that when it comes to deciding who your candidate is really just like, how do they support your community, and what are they going to do to move it forward? Because I think that Black and brown people need to be at the seat at the table. So when we're talking about voting, like, what does it mean to vote Black? What does it mean to vote this or that, right? I mean, let's be real. Like, if you're I mean, we shouldn't name names, but like, if we're voting for Trump, in a sense, he's super controversial within our own communities, considering, our own communities are kind of divided. Old school Latinos are predominantly like conservative leaning. So like, just because of that, they're more likely to vote one way, right? Just because they support the conservative view, right? So it's like, how do you deal with people who vote against you, but like, also, how do you keep them included so that you can at some point pull them to your side? You know what I mean? Because I think time will tell. So hopefully, if they look like us and they see, and they start to realize that more things that happen against us, and that's how they vote. They're voting on policies and things like that that will support their community, not necessarily take away from it.
I would also like to go on, Beny.
If I could add just two words, right? For me, it's about accountability, and it's about values, right? For me, it's making people communicate what their values are, and if that aligns to your values, and as Johnathan mentioned, right, like that's going to be all over the gamut, right? We come from diverse populations, and there's going to be diverse thought, and so you're going to disagree with people. That's just a part of the nature of the piece. But if a candidate is coming to the forefront and communicating, this is what I'm about, then it's our responsibility to make sure they're accountable to what they said, and they do what they said. I think that's an important factor in all politics, especially when we have complaints, right? If we see something is not going to the degree or to the quality of what we would like it to be, how do we insert ourselves to have that more specific and tailored conversation to evoke the change that we want to see in our communities? And I think, now more than ever, we see that.
I just want to add that I know in our area, the 100 Black Men usually hold forums, candidates forums, and that gives all the candidates an opportunity to come and state what their positions are, but we also get a chance to ask questions. And you should always ask candidates questions ahead of time. Don't go to the polls and vote for folks that you don't know what they stand for. And just because they look like you doesn't necessarily mean they're going to agree with you and support you. So I like to do the front end and ask the questions and get involved at that point. So take advantage of forums that are out in your community as well.
Absolutely. So forums is definitely a strong way that you can get that insight. Values is an incredible way. Nuance is really important because somebody might agree, they might represent you on some things, but not on other, and you sort of have to make that difficult decision between a few candidates who it is that you're going to support. I'll also say, in terms of reading, when candidates are running for office, check your local newspapers online, and they will usually have a question and answers session with each of the candidates. So you can read about what their answers are to all those questions that you're thinking about. I would also say go to the League of Women Voters, and you can usually find, go to their website, and you can usually find each candidate and what they stand for as well. And then if all fails, go to their social media page and send them a message and ask them, send them an email. Be like, listen, I live in your district. I'm really concerned about this. What are your thoughts on it, or what will you do? And if they answer you, that's step one. Because a lot of times, there might be radio silence, but if they answer you and it doesn't quite sit right, maybe maybe that's somebody you might not want to consider, or you may want to push them on their issues. Let me ask a question about difficult decisions, and this is specifically for our folks who have been in elected office. There's always times when you're in that seat that you're going to make decisions that are not necessarily popular with your constituents, with your base, with the public. How do you negotiate that? What happens when you're sort of in a position where you got to make some really tough decisions? What's your guiding light?
Well, for me, when I was involved in politics, that's a question, Joe, first of all. So first of all, I think you really need to study the issue. You need to have an opinion yourself. But a lot of times my opinion at that time was determined on conversations I had with people, both the pros and the cons. I want to hear why you think that, and I want to hear the other side as well. I think having a discussion to help you come up with what direction you should go and vote, that's the best one. For me, it was always what I could live with. I don't care how many people pushed me. I had people that came after me when I was an older person, saying if you don't vote a certain way, you're not going to be sitting in that seat the next time. And then I wasn't sitting in that seat because I got elected as mayor. But the pressure, the pressure at that time, first of all, I always showed respect. You got to show respect, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. And I would respectfully indicate my other thoughts if I had some that were different from theirs. You don't have to agree, but you just need to respect. You need to listen. And what I always also tried to do is come back. If I had a discussion with someone and I was leaning one way and I got more information and I decided I was going to go in a different direction, I would try to circle back to that person and talk with them about it and just indicate why I am going to vote a certain way. But you have to vote the way that you can live with, because it's your decision down the line. People that you think are on your side at the beginning because they want something may not be there for you afterwards. That's my point.
Gloria?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've been right in the middle of many controversial decisions in my career, particularly as the president of the school board recently. I think for me, it is the hardest decisions I've made. I've had to step outside my own sort of beliefs on a certain topic and really evaluate and listen to those who are most impacted by a decision. And, I have often found myself professionally thinking one way, that this is the route to go, right? And then it's not necessarily the right way because circumstances have changed. The environment has changed. The culture has changed. Something has changed, and the community is asking and pushing for something different, right? And I have to be able to be bold enough to step outside my own professional beliefs and really do what's best for those who are most impacted by decisions. I mean, my most recent difficult decisions was to take SROs out of our high schools, officers out of our schools. And, I have always felt that they played a critical role and brought value to our school, our high schools. And me being law enforcement, right, I understood the value that they brought firsthand and respected the many officers who currently work for Madison Police Department. But given the circumstances of our nation and locally, it changed. And so I had to step out of my own personal, and that's what elected officials need to do, right? And I think we have to listen to our constituents, listen to people, but bottom line is the most people who are most impacted by whatever decision we're making. And it's been tough, and you have to be able to be bold and courageous in your decision making to be really a good leader.
Yeah, and I've said this to you in private, but I'll also say it publicly. I admire your leadership style because anything that's been thrown your way, you've just taken it with grace and like Francis said, respect. You've listened to folks and you've done it in a sincere way that doesn't involve, just pandering or making fake promises, but actually moving forward on it. So. Much respect.
Thank you, Jay.
My respect.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna wrap this up soon, so let's get some final thoughts. If folks can just give us, maybe one last takeaway that you want our viewers to hear. Sort of about involvement and engagement, and maybe keep it to like maybe a sentence. Let's start with John.
Vote. I can't say that enough. And just how important it is to just, if you can't do something about it, reach out to the people who represent you, call them, be a part, show up to meetings. If something bothers you, say something. Get out there, do something. You don't need a college degree to participate. Just keep moving. Pa'lante or adelante. Just like vote. And if you can't tell someone else to vote, it's important.
All right, Beny.
Yeah, I would just say to people, become informed. Right? Exhaust every resource available to you to become informed on what's happening, both right at your local level, at the national level, because it matters. right? And so have those difficult conversations with people, disagree, agree to disagree, agree to agree, whatever it may be, but become informed because it matters not only for the near future, but for the far distant future as well.
Guys.
I think we lost.
I guess that's on you, Francis. Go.
I'm sorry. We are all folks with obligations here at home. Let's leave Mayor Francis for last. Let's go with Gloria.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what I would say is really invest in Adelante, Madison. We have a Facebook page. Become friends. We're working on a website right now, and we will have membership options for people to participate in Adelante in different membership categories, and just stay engaged with Adelante.